Recently, Brooke Army Hospital in Texas undertook a test to see just how effective it would be in handling the mass civilian casualties of a natural disaster. The mock disaster was slated to affect the city of San Antonio. In the wake of the mock tornado, there will be nearly 1,000 simulated casualties to be treated by Brooke Army Hospital. Of this number, 800 cases will be listed as serious injuries. The remaining 200 cases will require emergency treatment. Playing the parts of the thousands of simulated civilian casualties are the soldiers ordinarily on duty with the Brooke Medical Center's schools and laboratories. According to the fictional account of the disaster outlined by the designers and testers of the operation, a tornado has swooped through northwest San Antonio early in the morning. It has left behind demolished buildings, wrecked homes, and razed factories. To represent the kinds of cases which would actually exist under such circumstances, Army doctors have compiled a list of injuries based upon genuine disaster reports of the past. The simulated casualties are made up to represent these injuries as faithfully as possible. To recreate conditions as they would exist in such an emergency, the hospital staff will continue to care for its 700 genuine military patients as usual. The additional 1,000 simulated civilian casualties represent an enormous extra burden designed to test the hospital's facilities to the extreme. Other of the Army's resources also come up for testing as a part of the exercise. The Army's helicopters, usually found serving casualties in battle, are converted for civilian use. Here today, they are being used in a shuttle service between the medical center and the simulated disaster zone. Such fast airborne transportation would be used for carrying injured civilians most in need of emergency hospital attention. The exercise, called Fire Drill, has been planned carefully to utilize all of the staff, supplies, and equipment available. 2 hours after the tornado struck and civilian authorities requested military aid, the first of the 1,000 simulated patients begin to arrive. The Hospital Service Club becomes the reception center. On hand to analyze and evaluate the exercise are umpires both from Brooke Medical Center and from the Surgeon General's office in Washington. The lessons learned here today will help prepare a blueprint for all the hospitals throughout the country, which are drawing up plans to meet emergency situations. Earlier, when the alert signal was heard, the service club was cleared of furniture and recreation facilities and then converted into a huge emergency room and sorting station. Specific areas within the auditorium have been set aside for cases of varying degrees of seriousness. As far as possible, every situation and emergency has been prepared for. On the tags which the patients wear, special symbols are used to help doctors recognize immediately the casualty status. While buses, trucks, and private cars are carrying the tornado's victims to the receiving station, Army helicopters are speeding the emergency cases to the medical center. Techniques developed in Korea and in Army training programs for swiftly carrying casualties by air for prompt medical attention are applied in today's exercise. Here, as at the receiving center, umpires will check and report on the care and efficiency with which the simulated casualties are handled. At the converted service club, medical officers give emergency treatment as they sort the patients into categories. One group is slated for immediate treatment. The second priority goes to those listed for later treatment. And a third classification is made for those to get treatment when personnel and space become available. At every stage, umpires check on the treatment given, double-checking on the care administered, and recommendations made by the doctors. Once the casualty has received emergency treatment and been sorted, he is ready to be sent to one of the main hospital buildings where surgical staffs and equipment are waiting. Ambulances and buses are pressed into service to take patients to the main hospital building. Realism is the keynote of the exercise. Every contingency has been thought of and planned for. Chaplains are on hand to give consolation to the critically injured and sacramental attention to the dying. Civilian volunteers man the typewriters which keep patient and hospital records up to date and accurate. An information service is in operation to help anxious relatives learn about the conditions of patients admitted to the hospital. The Public Information Office is providing lists of casualties to news media quickly. From these carefully compiled records, it is possible to tell whether a victim of the storm is in a ward, surgery, or has been discharged. For the simulated casualties whose condition demands the most immediate attention, those who might not survive the short ambulance ride from receiving center to hospital proper, additional helicopter service is available. Today's exercise is covering a 12-hour period. This means that casualties are arriving at a clip faster than one every minute. The fast-moving helicopters shuttling between receiving center and the hospital's wards and operating rooms help speed up the flow of patients. Behind the actual moving and simulated treatment of the casualties is an enormous flow of medical supplies. Just as the simulated casualties are treated as though they were genuine, so the hospital staff supplies the supplemental goods and facilities which would be needed if the casualties were genuine. Beds, bandages, medicines and towels, linens and splints, antibiotics and surgical instruments. Although the simulated casualties don't actually need blood transfusions and plasma, volunteer donors really do give their blood to help enlarge the hospital's supply against the day when a genuine emergency might exist and this blood be sorely needed. Every one of the hospital's operating rooms has gone into round-the-clock service. Again, although no actual operations are conducted, the variety of simulated cases presented to the surgeons demand that they test the ready availability of more than 50 different kinds of surgical instruments. Following the successful conclusion of Operation Fire Drill, the findings of the umpires are presented and discussed. The procedures adopted and the conclusions reached here at Brooke Army Hospital may prove invaluable to many other hospitals throughout the country in time of disaster.